Gassama's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassama finds Gassama.
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
What a week it's been. Dumped out of the cup, beaten in the Yorkshire derby, and then our incompetent owner decided it would be a great idea to hold a fans forum and remove any sort of positivity that there was around the club. Remember, back the team, not the regime. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me, as he always is Matt Johnson. Matt, how are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Very quiet week here. Nothing going on. So, yeah, all good. All good. Haven't had my life consumed by something 90-odd miles away up the road, and I've had to explain it about 70 times this week to anybody who's gone, oh, you're a Wednesday fan. Can you tell me what's going on? Yeah, really quiet.
Yeah, I was about to say, what a week it's been. I mean, you know what? This season, I said at the start, let's have a quiet season, mid-table, just, not too much drama. Just, we've got a decent manager. Everything's going all right. We can't even have that, can we, Matt?
No, God no, James. If you were looking for boring mid-table, which is what me and you both said at the start of the season, this is the most entertaining, boring mid-table season I think any club is likely to see.
All I'm saying is, weren't Netflix fishing around what it must have been the season when we beat Peterborough in the playoffs? I'm sure There was some news, like apparently they'd had a meeting and Netflix was going to, be like the next Sunderland Till I Die show, whatever it was going to be called, because I did make sure I've copyrighted this one. But anyway, it was whatever show, whatever it was going to be. But yeah, they are kicking themselves, not only for that one season, but just gold. Like every single year has been, it would have been a fantastic documentary. But alas, here we are at this moment in time, just crying as many tears every single day. But Matt, let's park that. Let's park all the things that have happened earlier on this week for a second. We will come on to them a little bit later on. We can't not, to be fair. But I just wanted to ask you the question, because I put this on Twitter earlier. At what point do we start looking at the other results in the league? Because we've passed, Christmas is gone. We're in the second half of the season now. I mean, if personally, I'm always looking at the results. I mean, I'm not looking in the sense of like, oh, we're only 2 points off or what, all that sort of stuff after game week 3. But I do kind of look at see what other clubs are doing and stuff like that. A lot of people shoot me down and say, nah, you can't look at league table until at least after Christmas. Where do you stand on all that?
I'm looking at it as we need 13 points to guarantee survival in this division, because there's always someone who drops from mid-table like a stone. And if you're looking for one at the minute, boy, is it in Sheffield 6.
Yeah. I mean, Danny's already referenced getting to that magic 50-point mark. He did that, last game, Millwall, last league game. He mentioned it. So, yeah, that is the next check mark, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think after that, once you know... I mean, obviously, last season, once we knew we'd stabilised in the division, was the last day. But I think once you've got to 50 points, you can then take stock again, and then you can start having a look at how far you are away from it. With the events of this week, had it not been the events of this week, I'd have said, I get that comfortably in the next, handful, 6, 7 games. Now I'm looking at it and thinking, well, there's 20 games left. It should be all right, surely. Surely we should be all right to get to 13 more points. Like, no bother.
Peterborough thought they were in the final. That's all I'll say on that one. I think you're right, to be fair. I've just got some few comments. Lamini, evening. Yes, evening to you. Hello to G as well. Ben said, evening, gents. If Chansiri can't see we're desperate for some defenders after today, then he never will. Even thought Dish was well off the pace at times today. 2 centre-backs needed ASAP. Lamini also said, it's why we love the club, never dull. Gary said, sort of feels like when you're in a relationship, but you know that bird is off and you know it's the beginning of the end. That's the situation where we are regarding Danny. Irreversible difference. And Rob said, I just think I've defrosted from this morning as well. Let's get straight into the match then. Starting lineup, 2 changes. from the side that played Millwall in the last league game. It was Beadle in goal, Bernard, Ehekwa, Valerie, Max Lowe. Then it was Charles, Bannon and Ingleson with Masaba, Gassama and Windass. So 2 changes, Ehekwa and Ingleson coming in, Iofa and Ugbo out. Iofa obviously forced with that injury that he's picked up. What did you make to that starting lineup? Because for me, I mean, we say this every single week. I was happy with it. Extra man in midfield, totally get that. Especially for, coming up against the league leaders, a side that's pretty formidable at Elland Road so far this year. I was all right with it. I know we're not playing an out-and-out striker. All right, Windass, you could say, but he's mainly plays in that 10 attacking midfielder. So I'd kind of mooted that before, playing without a striker. I was interested to see how it panned out, but it was more really extra man in midfield, weren't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think like before the game, like you've just said, I think 100% understood the team selection. I do understand with obviously our lack of centre halves, but also with Michael Ehekwa, you kind of know what you're going to get from him. And pre-kick-off, kind of how deep I'd anticipated we'd end up sitting for the majority of the 90 minutes. As it turned out, the game didn't pan out like that. It felt like we were going to have to soak up an awful lot of pressure and an awful lot of deliveries into the box. And you could make an argument there that actually there is nobody better at the club at winning first contact on either a header or a ball into the box than Michael Ehekwa. So I can completely understand that. And again, I think that 3 in midfield allows for what we saw for large spells of the game today. The best, and you see the best of, say, Shay Charles and Bannon, where they're allowed to drop into those little pockets which the wing backs have vacated or the right back and left back have vacated and actually pick up the ball and start to dictate the play from there. So completely understood it. Seemed a very smart and sensible selection. As you mentioned before, James, like you said I'm sure it was this pod last week where you'd said I'd quite like to see Windass up top and just go for what pace we do have.
Yeah.
Stick them up there and just go for it. And ultimately, again, I thought it was the right selection, considering Michael Smith's been at a birthday party. So I thought it was the right selection. For those of you who haven't seen the image of Michael Smith sat looking depressed like everybody does at kids' birthday parties, he was there, not at Elland Road, obviously. But yeah, I thought it was the right selection, right team. It's the type of game that on another day, it's right up Josh Windass's street. In terms of really hostile atmosphere, like very nasty, lots of tackles flying in. Like I always think those type of games do tend to bring out the best in Josh Windass. So again, happy with the selection.
Yeah, we all say, don't we, that Josh turns up for the big games, and this is a big game, isn't it, against the league leaders and everything else. So yeah, I was happy with it. You were saying about Michael Ehekwa there and the headers. I know we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but he won twice as many aerial duels than anyone else on the pitch today. So he's there. He serves a purpose, doesn't he? And that is definitely just, like you said, winning those headers. So yeah, happy days. I mean, I'd have liked to have seen some new signings at this point. Do you know what I mean? 19 days in, but. Yeah.
Sorry, James. The list still hasn't got there. Clearly, it's still suck on. What Danny did was click the wrong date. You know where it says like forward an email. He's clicked the wrong date and he's scheduled send for the end of January.
Is that what it is?
He thought it was going out second. He thought it was going out second of the first. He's actually sent it to go first of the second.
Right. Or maybe he's on the American calendar. Yeah, that always knackers me up sometimes. Yeah, so he's meant to send it on like the 10th for the first. He's actually sent it on the 1st of October. So we'll get it. We'll get it for next January if he's still here. Do you know what? We have to laugh, because if you don't laugh, there's been, obviously in the Discord, there's been people, ranting about all the things. It goes quiet, and then all of a sudden there's someone else that just pops in with a rant, and people saying I've not been able to sleep since Wednesday night. I'm just like frustrated and everything else, and yeah, you do have to just laugh about it. Like this game this afternoon held so much insignificance. It was unreal. Like I didn't really, we've lost 3-0, and I'm not as annoyed as what I normally am, because I just feel like there's bigger things that are more important at this moment in time. Do you know what I mean? Such as like the manager, such as like the relationship between the manager and the chairman, the fact that we haven't signed any players and we've got players out injured. I mean, there's so many much more big things. I'm actually quite glad it was against Leeds today, because it was a game that not many people thought we were going to win anyway. So,
Yeah.
you know, had it been against a Plymouth or a Portsmouth or someone like that, you know, we could have quite easily come unstuck with everything that's been going on. Matt, what did you make to the comments that, you know, Bernard said before, in the pre-match press conference, that the feeling in the camp is a bit, you know, a bit different to what it usually is like? What did you make to that?
I thought it was honest. The interview that Josh Windass also gave to ITV, where he just said it's just another week at this football club. But both of them were both of the answers. I know, sorry, I know Dish's like segment was a little bit longer, obviously, because it was the interview from the player before, you know, the official press conference. And I know he had more time to kind of explain it, and he did go on to talk about some other topics as well. For Dishon Bernard, who before arriving at us last season had obviously bounced around at a number of clubs, but his parent club was Man United. Now, Man United are not a well-run and functioning club at this point in time, and they probably weren't towards the back end or the early stages of Dishon Bernard's career or his latter stages of his time at Man United. But ultimately, you could argue he never really saw it. For him to come out and say, "Whoa, this is tense here this week," actually just kind of cuts everything, all that, like, you know, we as players just tend to get on with it. It actually just says, yeah, do you know what? We do see it. Like, it's pointless trying to pretend that we don't and that we haven't seen it, because anybody who is even loosely linked to football in this country this week will have seen some form of Sheffield Wednesday content or something that's gone on, because of how many media outlets have picked up the incidents from Wednesday, the fact that we were on national TV, you know, national terrestrial TV at lunchtime, they're talking about it. So it has had an awful lot of eyes on it this week, that situation. So I was quite pleased with the fact that he came out and said, it's not really been a normal week. No, there is a lot of tension, because, I mean, it would have been very easy for him to just come out and just toe the party line. But he didn't.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to actually hear some admission, really.
Yeah, I just feel that it might have affected Danny as well. I think maybe his demeanour has been different since the whole kind of Southampton debacle. I just feel, you know, maybe he's different with the players or stuff in the past 3 or 4 weeks or so. But I mean, look, it's not kind of transpired onto the pitch. I know we got beat 3-0, but you know, we'll come on to it in a sec. But I thought it was a decent performance. You know, like, you know, other than them first opening 10 minutes. I think, you know, when you look at it and when we're going to the break at half time, I think we were by far the better team. You know, we were zipping the ball about. I think we got down that right hand side quite easily at times. I mean, had it not been for a few last ditch tackles from the Leeds players, we'd have been in. You know, or if we'd have been a bit more ruthless or clinical, you know, we could have got a few shots off. But yeah, I thought that we were. It wasn't good. I felt like it was going to be like 80-20% in terms of possession in favour of Leeds, and it was going to be a bit of an onslaught. But it weren't like that. You know, we didn't just park the bus. We actually took the game to them, didn't they? Really, which was, you know, in the end, came out a little bit of an undoing, didn't it? You know, they quite easily got those other 2 goals. But you know, all in all, like a few people said in the comments already, like it was a decent performance. It was another one of those games. Play like that on Wednesday against Bristol City, we'll have no problem whatsoever.
100%. And I thought for large spells of the first half, we were the better side. The second half, I'd probably argue, went a little bit more to form in terms of us sitting deeper and sitting back and soaking up pressure and attempting to hit them on the break. But you would anticipate that Leeds would have made tactical switches to combat what we were doing in that first half. I thought tactically for 85 minutes minus the first 2 and then minus the last 3 and plus injury time and all the rest of it. Tactically, we got it really right today, and it would have taken one of those half to 3/4 chances that we had over the course of the 87 minutes just to fall into the back of the net. And that atmosphere turns. We said it after the game at Bramall Lane. I will say it after the game again today at Elland Road. You can tell when a home opposition know they've been in a game, why when they get their first goal, oh my God, do they not shut up? And they start jumping on and piling on about manager, about chairman, about everything that's going on. Elland Road wasn't like that before that 87th minute second goal. It was very tense. It was very nervous. And they were leading from the second minute. It wasn't like it was comfortable. It was only when it went to 2 and 3 in, the third one is what it is. Like he's, like you don't change the shape. And I mean, I know we'll come on to talk about the goal, but that's only when really they started getting on top of it. This is a side that are top of the league and know they were in a game. At the moment, that is all we are capable of, is giving those top sides at the top of the division a scare. That is what we are capable of, because ultimately it's a mid-table squad.
Yeah, you're bang right. There were a lot of that game where I kept telling myself it's only 1-0. It's still only 1-0. How many times have we been in that situation at home ourselves where we're only 1-0 ahead and we perhaps should be 2 or 3? I don't think they should have been 2 or 3. They were, you wouldn't say they were good value for the 1-0 lead. If we went in at the break 0-0, you'd have probably said that were quite a fair result, a fair assessment. But they've, whilst ever it were just that one goal, there's still always a chance. How many times have you seen it? Like, again, it's normally the other way around when we're leading and the other team goes down the other end, they get one chance and score. Problem with us is that at the moment is, I know we've scored lots of goals, but I do feel like we're just not, when we need to be clinical, we're just not. And obviously we have to be clinical against the top sides, because I did feel like Leeds were going to give us a chance at some point. I don't think we tested Meslier as much as what we perhaps should have, but that's by the by. Having listened to the Leeds fan on the preview show, like they hate him. They hate the goalkeeper. I know hate's a strong word, but I thought we could have perhaps tested him a little bit better. One player I was impressed with, Matt, was Jeddy Gassama. I keep saying this every week. I do feel like he's on that upwards trajectory of just getting better and better. All right, he might not have got the goals to show for it just yet, but he's certainly giving us something else and a little bit different. Close control, close footwork, wins loads of fouls as well, advances up the pitch, and I think he's staking his claim for like that. That starting in that starting 11 on a more permanent basis for me.
I think you have to play him. You have to play him. You have to give him the minutes and give him the opportunity. Today was always going to be a tough game. He was up against Jayden Bogle, who, irrespective of who he played before, has gone to a side within the division who are going to be challenging at the top of the league. He is a top-end Championship, low-end Premier League right back. I thought he got as much out of him as he could possibly do. And lots of today, I thought Jeddy Gassama typified exactly what you see good from him. Get the ball under control, maybe take a little bit longer than you'd like, but ultimately he gets the ball under control, draws a man to him, beats him, and then usually initiates second contact, either draws a foul or finds a pass. There was very few opportunities today for him to actually get shots off. There was one opportunity, I think, in the second half where he got the ball on the half turn in sort of a number 10 position, and where you would want him to play the ball, take a touch, first time pass. He took one, took another, tried to play the ball through to Masaba, and that passing lane had been shut off by Joe Rodon. It's what happens against those top sides. And ultimately, as you say, I think we've seen a real burst out, and arguably now, there is no player who should be coming in and taking his spot unless he is injured or unfit to start. He should be playing week in, week out for this football club because of what he brings to us. He's so valuable in getting us further up the pitch and winning those really, really important fouls. On the other wing, you see Anthony Masaba, who, yes, his output and assists might be better than Jeddy Gassama's at this point in time, but he doesn't offer you more as an all-round team player. He offers you those flashes or moments of, he's in the right place at the right time or gets himself on the end of something, which is really, really useful. But over the course of the 90 minutes, you're more likely to find him more anonymous than Jeddy Gassama at this point in time. And yeah, I agree with you. I've been impressed with him since start of the season. He's had a couple of off performances, but he's 21. He's going to. And ultimately, he is a player, if you're looking at it from an assets point of view, you should be looking to tie down to an extended deal now at this point in time to protect that asset for when, in a year's time, in 2 years' time, when he is ready to either push on at the top of the division, that's either with ourselves, or you get a good fee for him.
Yeah, I have to agree on that. Well, wholeheartedly. He does need to get that checkbook out and just give him a better deal, just to keep him there, just to tie him down, like you said. He's vital, really.
Yeah.
3-0, Matt. I have to say it did fly Leeds somewhat. Yeah. I didn't see that as a 3-0 game at all.
No, I didn't either. But when you've been beaten 3-0 and 2-0 at home and you've lost 5-0 on aggregate, you can't really argue. Ultimately at Hillsborough, Thought Leeds were totally dominant and in control without being.
Yeah, that were a much better performance, weren't it, from them?
100%. Yeah,
their place.
Yeah, and I think Danny.
And
Danny referenced it after the game. He compared this to the Ipswich game, like last season, where it was 6-0, and we were never in the game. That's 3-0 on paper. Anybody who watched the game went, scores got run up a little bit at the end, but ultimately it was a close game. I think if you've watched it, you've looked at it and thought exactly what the Championship is about this season. Team at the top of the division, team in 10th. There isn't really much to separate them bar the individual quality in the final third, because both sides I thought were shaky defensively. I know Sky definitely, and I don't know about ITV, but Sky definitely were ramping up Ethan Ampadu and about how unbelievable he played at centre half. I'd argue we didn't give him an opportunity to actually show that he needed to be good at centre half today, because we just didn't test him. We didn't get the ball into the box enough. We didn't put enough pressure on him. You can't argue when you've lost 5-0 on aggregate over 2 games and the side's taken 6 points. You can't argue with it. I don't think it was a 3-0, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think Danny's referenced quite a few times recently, like the value of the squad. You know, he mentioned it just the other day, the fact that now Shay Charles leaving, that the value's gone down considerably more. I mean, it says something when 2 players that aren't even ours have that much of an effect on the value of the squad. But you know, today you could see the levels, especially in that second half. Yeah. There were times where, you know, they were just gliding through us. They weren't even putting a challenge in, and that's where it becomes difficult for me. You know, when you look at the squad that we've got and what they're being asked to do, you know, I do feel like we are, you know, way above our station in terms of, you know, where we should. I know we spoke about how poor this league is, but when you're watching, you know, a side like Leeds, let's face it, like they are a Premier League side. You know, I know they've lost. They'll be saying we've lost this player, that player, X, Y, and Z. But you know, when they're bringing off the players that they've got on the bench, it's just, you know, no disrespect, but we're bringing off Callum Patterson and Ugbo hasn't scored a goal all season. You know, trying to hope that they're going to make a difference. And they're bringing, you know, Willie Nonto. He didn't start, did he? He came off the bench.
No, he came off the bench,
and then the lad who scored as well. You know, it's just you can just see the levels that we're having to work with there, and yeah, it was all to see there on the pitch. As much as we had a really good performance and we played, you know, we played well, you know, whatever our game plan was. I felt like we stuck to it. The difference is just that quality, and yeah, it's just tough.
You mentioned the quality coming off the bench. You could talk at Dan James, who came off the pitch for the goal scorer. Was it Ramazani who scored? Who's a £8 million player, and Willie Nonto was a £20 million player in terms of value. There's £30 million in 2 players that you're bringing on. I know parachute payments, and you can go back into this argument. I really don't want this to sound like sour grapes, but the comparison at the time was Callum Patterson and Ike Ugbo been brought on. And as you rightly said, you're hoping for a goal with those 2 rather than expecting a goal from the other 2 who come on for Leeds. There's no shame in losing to a side who are top of the division. It stings because it is a Yorkshire rival. It's the 2 most successful clubs in Yorkshire, as Sky kept ramming down everybody's throats today. Yes. But it's, again, it's frustrating because, again, me and you, and I am guilty of this, I've given the manager and the coaching staff an awful lot of praise and credit, and rightly so, they've deserved it. The players deserve an awful lot too, because the players are playing above their station from what we know that they are capable of. We have got, I mean, Barry Bannon has been a wonderful player in his last 10 years at Hillsborough. He is performing to levels, arguably, that are better than some of his peak years at Sheffield Wednesday at this point in time. And by that, I mean, he's so crucial and pivotal to the way that we play. Now, he's been facilitated by others. If you look at Dishon Bernard, if you look at Max Lowe, if you look at Jan Valery, if you go into the kind of like the forward areas in Jedi Gassama and Antti Masaba, this playing squad are playing to their absolute maximum at this point in time, in my personal opinion, and they need help. They need help. They need reinforcements. They've got 2 quality additions in, obviously, Shay Charles and James Beadle, who have helped them, but they need more. You need more help if you are being ambitious, as the manager has not openly and publicly stated that he wants to get to the top 6 and all the rest of it. But he said, I want to go as high as I can, and I want to be managing as high as I can. He's driving these players, and he's setting the players up to give them the best opportunity to do that. It's now about, can you find a couple more to support them so you are looking up towards the end of the season, not like I mentioned at the top of this podcast, nervously over your shoulder until you hit safety.
Yeah, and it's mad as well that we are still only 4 points from the playoffs. You know, given all the games that have happened this weekend, it seems like nobody wants that, you know, 5th or 6th spot at the moment. Everyone's just shying away from it. I think something like 5 of the 8 wins on Saturday were sides that were, you know, from sides that below the team that they beat. So yeah, obviously it's good in a way because it means that nobody's really running away with it, but also on the flip side, it's all concertinaing up again, and you've got to be. It's going to get to a point, if we're not careful, where, you know, one win and you can move up 3 or 4 places. It's going to, you know, it's going to be close, I feel, come the end of the season, and we just need to be there in that conversation, don't we? 100%. And I just, I'll park the transfer stuff. We'll talk about that in a bit. We'll talk about Shay Charles in a second as well. Get a little violin out, you know.
Yeah, please do.
Let's talk about that, the first goal then, because it didn't take long for it to come. 3 minutes in, you know, fans had barely sat down.
Yep.
And it were already 1-0. Beadle, could he have done better with it? What's your take on it?
So on first looking at it, I was like, there was a lot of people in the Discord chat who were immediately kind of like racing to James Beadle and going, he's got to do better than there. And Sky and all the other coverages at halftime slated him for the way he makes the save. I don't have an issue with the way he makes the save in terms of Sky was seen to insinuate that he should be pushing it away from him. But I'd argue if you push it away from him at the angle that he comes out, that's going to just create a 4 yards that the striker's got to go to create a tap in. He has to come out and smother the ball at his feet. My only criticism of James Beadle is the coming off his line, and it seems and looks a little bit like on camera, like he stops, then decides to go. And that little bit of hesitation allows, it was Solomon, obviously, not Solomon, it was Pirot, who I think is closing him down. It allows him that split second to just make this a more interesting challenge than it needs to be, and forces James Beadle to parry it rather than actually just smother the ball. I mean, realistically, you need to be looking at Deshaun Bernard, Max Lowe. You've got a runner going from 10 yards in front of you across the pitch. Both players recognise him. Neither one does anything about it. You then have to look at your midfield, either Shay Charles or Bannon or Ingleson. I'm not sure who was closest to him, who doesn't track Solomon, who scores. It's a calamity of errors from what was a poor pass. And I think that was why, is because I think we were all, like, for the rest of the game, everything that Leeds did was really slick moving forwards. It was all really quick interchanges, and it would break down because someone would get a tackle in. That was the one defence-splitting pass that should not have been a defence-splitting pass because it was so poorly struck. Yeah. And I think just that confusion just played into it. But again, for me, I've seen I've seen a couple of tweets criticising James Beadle for it. I get the indecision off his line. For the actual save, personally, for me, I think he's not helped out by those in front of him.
Yeah, I think there's a few elements to it for me. I'll talk about the save for a second. I think he thinks that Pirot's going to get a touch on it.
Yeah.
That's why he's gone like how he's gone. Because he's not gone to smother the ball. He's gone to block it. Yeah. And what's happened is he's not got any touch on it, and then he's, you know, then he's in the wrong position, and the ball just kind of bounces off him. Obviously, had he have taken a touch and he'd flailed his arm or whatever and saved it, we'd all been saying what a fantastic save. As it happens, he has actually got enough time to make the save and smother it and readjust himself. He doesn't, like I said, but obviously it's all happening so quick. I think you're right. I think he is just a little bit indecisive off the line. But for me, Michael Ehekwe is just a bit rusty. He's the one that's actually marking Solomon. He's actually in front of him. When that ball's played, he's in front of Solomon. The difference is Solomon just trots off him. Michael Ehekwe just stops, probably thinking that Beadle's going to collect it, but you can't do that. You can't. No. You've got to cover off every single angle. And obviously the ball breaks to him, and you see Ehekwe like on his haunches a little bit, because I think he realises that that guy who scored was right next to me when that move starts. And then Bernard, when the ball comes over, he's kind of on his heels a little bit. You know, he's kind of twisted and turning, and he's, you know, had he been set, and he might have been able to get there before. Well, to kind of block off that pass. So you're right, it is just a catalogue of errors once again, and for it to be so early on in the game, you think, don't you, get to 60 minutes at 0-0, at least get to half time at 0-0, and then we might have a chance in the second half to do something a little bit different. When you can't even get to 5 minutes and you've already conceded a goal, it's going to be a long afternoon. I know it didn't pan out like that, actually, because as we mentioned, we were on top in that first half. But fair play, because I feel like I don't think we changed whatever the plan was. I don't think we changed it. I feel like that's how we would have played at 0-0.
Yeah,
as well. I don't think it was because we went a goal down that we did anything different. Because again, like I mentioned, whilst ever it's 1-0, we can still, a point would have been a magnificent result, wouldn't it, if we'd have nicked something, as in managed to nick a goal. But yeah, I'm not putting too much blame on Beadle for that one. I think yes, he could have done a little bit better, but he's still in credit, I feel, from some of the other saves that he's made.
If you're looking at the actual catalogue of, say, for argument's sake, goalkeeping errors that James Beadle has made this season to last season, it's in stark contrast, absolute stark contrast. And I mean, you could argue that some of those errors that he made last year weren't his fault, and it was to do with the players who were around him. The only one that I would look at realistically this season and say, should have done better there, was Millwall for the second goal, where he gets down, he gets a strong hand on it, but just pushes it straight into the corner of the net. Aside from that, I've heard people referencing the goal away at Coventry in October, where he was slow to get across the goal, but Radoni goes back across him, it goes through players, it's right in the corner. Again, if you want to categorize this and that together, okay, fine. Like, put those two together as sort of like might have done a bit better. But ultimately, you've got to look at the people who are in front of him. There are three, but as you said, like Michael Hecker, it's no slight on him, because I thought he had a really good game considering how long he's been out of the team and out of favour. It's just, those are the things that happen against teams who are at the top of the league. Like,
if you watch it on Sky, he got dug out for a punch that he made in the second half.
That was ridiculous. That
what in terms of he shouldn't have punched it, he should have caught it.
No, as in the digging out of him was absolutely ridiculous, I thought, because the cross comes in and it was a delivery where everybody is closing in on him, and he punches the ball, and it was Andy Hinchcliffe, wasn't it, who was basically going, why is he not catching the ball? And I was just like, because if he spills it, you've got 4 Leeds players at his feet.
This is exactly what I'm going to say. He's already kind of made, in his eyes, probably a mistake already in this game, where he's made the wrong decision. He's come to block it when he should have smothered it. Yeah, if he goes to catch that and then clatters into the players running forward and then drops the ball and they poke it in and it's 2-0, that's it. It's almost game over. He got some stick from a few people punching the ball it would have been the Millwall game, but he was warming up and he was doing that, and he was practicing punching it. And I think in the game prior to that he had dropped it and got away with it. So I've got no, as long as he punches it and he gets it away, gone are the days of like the 80s where you saw him diving and in midair catching the ball. You don't see someone catch the ball in midair.
People hit the ball a bit harder these days.
but do you know what I mean? Like, it's different. The game is different, and the ball's moving around. I know this one wasn't moving or anything like that, but it was because people are in front of him. If he wants to punch it, happy days. I don't really care. Get it away from the goal. And he did. I think, did it go out for a... It went out for a corner, I think.
It went out for a corner, and we were defending well from corners all day, which is rare, which is really, really rare for Sheffield Wednesday. So, like, it's fine. Like, anybody who is getting flustered at that, again, this is just, I suppose, the nature of goalkeeping, isn't it? You make any slight error, because it's only you get jumped on. But I'm sure there would be a number of goalkeepers out there who would look at it and go, might be a bit disappointed, but ultimately there's not much he can do.
You're not going to have a flawless display as a goalkeeper. There will be times, they'll be looking back on that tomorrow, and I'm sure there'll be points where he'll go, you could probably caught that, or you could have done better, or whatever. There was another one where, it was a shot across the box. It was palmed out, and people saying, "Oh, should have done better with that. We should have tipped it around the post." Because the chance was still on. I'm like, he's got it as far away from the goal as he possibly can, and given us a chance at potentially clearing it if we'd have got some players in, down there. The fact that they've got there quicker, it's not much goalkeeper can do on that. No. I don't really know that, is it? Do you know what I mean? The shot's coming, he's just has to deal with it and do the best he can. So yeah, I think we need to, if anyone is on his back, just lay off him a little bit. He's saving far more than he's actually they were conceding, if you know 100%. What I mean. The game were 1-0, Matt, and we had chances, didn't we? And these chances are going to span across both halves. But for me, the big one was the Windass one when he slipped him through in the first half, and it's one of them ones where you say, "Oh, man in form, he'd hit that first time." Windass is that man in form. I don't know whether he got spooked or whatever, but he felt like he needed to take an extra touch, and it is a good tackle from Ampadu. But I just thought like he was going to let the ball come across him, as the ball would play through, and just first time it, just not even look and just rifle it into the top corner. But it was a well worked chance though, weren't it?
Yeah, it was a really well-worked chance. Obviously, we got it in the breakdown, didn't we, of Leeds clearing the ball, and it just gets slipped through to, pop through to him. It was Deschamps Bernard who actually plays the ball to him. Because when he picked up the ball, Deschamps Bernard, I was thinking, whoa, get off it. You get off it. I want you getting as far back as you possibly can.
Nosebleed.
And he slipped the ball through. This is going to be sounding really critical, and I really don't want to be critical of Josh Windass, because obviously he gets enough flack off other people. The touch is poor. I think the first touch to get it under shapes him that way towards Ampadu, and then Ampadu is there. He tries to do something rather than just hitting it, getting the deflection, it going out for a corner, which is what would have happened. He then tries to nick it through his legs or round him, I think, or lift it. He's going for his legs, I think, rather than anything else, and just let him slide past him. It's just a bit of a mess. But I think that's one of those things that, as you say, a striker in form, you'd like to think he just has a snapshot. On another day, Josh Windass just lets that roll across his body and hits it. I think had it been rolling across his body going onto his right foot, I think he would have hit it. It was rolling across his body and going onto his left. And I think anybody who saw the shot that he had at Preston when he was one-on-one from about 5 yards out with his left foot, I can totally understand why he tried to take a touch with his right. I just thought the touch with his right was a little bit too, and I'm being uber critical here, was a little bit too heavy and takes him in the direction of Ampadu. It's a good block tackle, but it should have been 1-0. That was the clearest cut chance that we had all day, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would have been 1-1, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Sorry, my bad.
People would be like, 1-0? What's John about 1-0? but there was other chances as well, and Gassama had a chance that decent snapshot from outside the box, which keeper actually dealt with. Then the one that's, the one that everyone's going absolutely mad at on the socials is the corner. It is carbon copy of Sunderland, apart from on the opposite side this time. Valerie's gone to the front post.
Sorry, James.
Sorry, it is Borough, not Sunderland. Yeah, red and white, similar stadium. It looks very similar. He's gone for the near post, really well worked. He's not got as much on it this time, has he? It's more of a flick rather than actual header goalwards, and he's flicked it, and it's just dying for someone to touch it. Now, on first viewing, I don't actually see how close Ugbo is. I don't know whether the replay has done him dirty here, because it looks like it literally just, he could breathe and he could touch it. Do you know what I mean? The ball's literally just in front of his face. Everyone's gone mad. Everyone thinks Ugbo should put it in. I must admit, when I first saw the replay, I thought, has he not just fucking headed it? Why has he just not nodded it in from there? I think we've been a little bit harsh, aren't we?
I thought it completely different, James. Sorry, because go on, finish your point before I dive back to my brave boy and defended him.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I think we've been a bit harsh on Ugbo, because I don't think probably what you're going to say. Actually, I think it's not much of a chance. I think it's gone past him before he's even been able to react to it. If it had been literally just I wish he was literally just 6 inches further forward, because it would have hit him square on his face.
Yep.
And it would have probably just gone in.
Yep.
And we'd have just all been running round. Ugbo is the saviour. He's got us an equaliser. That is it. He's going to score 20 goals in the remaining games of the season, and that is it. Monkey off his back. All the cliches. I can see the headlines now. What it's going to say. But he wasn't, was he?
No, I think a couple of things. Firstly, if anybody can tell me when Jan Valery wins that flick on, that EK Ugbo is stood 3 yards behind him, you're lying. Because when Jan Valery won the flick on, I immediately looked at the back post. Immediately was like, who's there? Who's there? Oh, no one. It was only when Sky showed it from the other angle of behind the goal and side on or whatever, and then slowed it down, that you were like, oh, shit, it's gone right past his face. Because there was such a huge mass of bodies at that near post. And he was, to be completely honest, he was just inside the near post. He's no more than 3 yards away from him. Now, I agree with you. Had he had his dreadlocks, it comes off one of them and it's 1-1. As it turned out, I personally thought that replay did him no favours, which was obviously what happened after, because everybody like people are doing now in the chat, everybody completely lit him up and all the rest of it because of obviously what's gone on this season, because we brought him in to be a goal scorer. Your mind immediately races back to, what was it, Norwich, where he missed from a centimetre or a dreadlock width, if we're calling it that. He's missed the penalty, he's missed against Burnley. That today, I honestly thought you could have done nothing. My personal grief with that was, why on earth is somebody not going in around the back post? If you're drilling in a ball with pace to the front post or just in front of that near post, you have to have a runner who starts in that big clump who makes their way to the back post, because the ball wasn't met by a Leeds player. The ball actually goes past everybody right out to near, actually out for a throw-in before the defender clears it. Yeah. If there is a Sheffield Wednesday player on that back post, it is 1-1.
Like you said, the ball's gone to the front post. We've had a man at the front post running to the front post. It's clearly been worked on in training. Do you know what I mean? For that to happen, and whether it's just the same routine as Borough and he's just not got enough on it, but you've got to put someone at that back post just in case he misses it or just gets a little flick on it like he did. But yeah, I mean the most infuriating thing, I think they literally go down the other end, don't they?
Yeah. They break from there, go straight down the other end. Jan Valery falls. Sorry, the yellow posters make Jan Valery fall over. And then obviously he trips over a couple more times. And to be fair to the lad who comes on from Leeds, literally, obviously the ball went in the back of the net. I was able to watch the game with my dad today. My dad, for those who don't know, my dad has broke his ankle and has been sat in a boot for the last 8 weeks. So I went round and watched the game round it is today. And he's going, well, that's fucking typical. And I was thinking, it's just like being back at Hillsborough in away days, this. All I kept thinking, James, was what a goal. That is a hell of a difficult skill from a player to get your shot off, to be presented with a block, to then be facing away from goal, to then whip it back through the defense. You can do nothing about it. It's what an £8 million £8 million substitute can do. It's a really good goal. It's right in the corner. Beadle's not getting there. He's done everything that you should do. Go back across it from where you've come from.
It just knocked all the stuffing out of us, didn't it? Really, that it was like, all through the game, we kept probing, and the second half, like we mentioned, it was they made a few tactical changes, I thought, and we weren't as creating as much as what we were in the first half. Yeah. But then we get to this point where a few corners, I think was it 2 or 3 corners in quick succession, and I thought like something was happening, and then for them to go down the other end, it is just again the levels that we're talking about. Yeah, just reading a comment out there from Jake. Ugbo moving like a prime Muhammad Ali, dodging that ball. It
is at least quite balanced in the chat, James. Like we have, I won't say the first part of the name, but Productions. A popular alternative to cigarettes, let's say, Productions. Done with Ugbo, without Josh Windass in front of goal, though we are nothing at the minute. Striker and centre-backs needed. And then Robert Moody is on the train of very much, I think he's awful, so I wouldn't normally defend him. I'm assuming, Robert, by that you mean, I don't think he's at fault for that.
That's a roundabout way. That's the way of getting it in there, that he think he's shit. He's
definitely shit, but that wasn't his fault. But he's still shit.
Yeah. Kevin says it looked like he moved his head out of the way. Yeah. Do you know what? I tweeted saying that Ugbo's never going to score, fact. And loads of people jumped on the back of it saying, like, kind of, negative, all this, that, and the other. Do you know what I'm saying is, it's like this, like, it's destined not to be. It's destined for Ugbo not to score a goal because it just isn't happening. Everyone else, it does, like you said, hit him on side at face and goes in, or off his arse cheek. The fact that we get a penalty and then it gets given to him, like, you can't give anyone a better chance than from 12 yards out, and he still can't put it in the back of the net. But yeah.
Sorry, just before we move on, James, I'm just going to highlight this one again because I think Jake has put this completely right in the second part of it. He is so stuck in his own head at the minute, and you can see that from any opportunity he comes onto the pitch. Today, had that header hit him and it gone wide, as you said, we'd all be going, how the fuck has he missed another one from 3 yards? There's not even a keeper in the net for this one. He's so stuck in his own head at the minute, and you are really seeing how much of a confidence player he is because he hasn't got any, absolutely none at this point in time. It's a shame. Roll on Wednesday. EK Ugbo, first goal scorer, will go on yet again. It will happen at some point. I'm not going to make my money back, but it will happen at some point.
Yeah, he'll have to score, I think, every game between now and the end of the season for that to happen. But Gary thinks that he's Ugbo's Ashley Fletcher Mark 2.0. Leeds fan says, played well today, lads. Unlucky. Yeah, like we said, I don't think 3-0 flattered him, but there is levels. The third goal, whilst Ugbo wasn't at fault for the header that he missed, it wasn't a header, which wasn't a chance, which was a chance, whatever. He 100% is at fault for the third goal. I mean, it's a great finish, the little flick, but it would and should have been about 5 yards offside had Ugbo have realised what has happened and moved up with the rest of the defenders. Do you know what? When I've watched it back, I've gone, please don't be Ugbo. Please don't be Ugbo. Oh, fuck, it's Ugbo.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I really didn't want it to be him that's played him on side. I mean, look, it's irrelevant. It's the third goal on 97 minutes or whatever it is. It doesn't really mean anything, but kind of more to what Jake's saying there, in terms of, being stuck in his head and stuff, it's not going to help him either, is it? That's not his job defending, but had he have done what everyone else would have done, they wouldn't have scored that goal.
Crucify him for this, by all means. Like, genuinely, and I am a really big EK Ugbo defender. Crucify him for this. I know it's late on. I know it's great. I know he's probably thinking for the rest of that game after that ball's flashed by him, oh my God, everybody's going to be saying, I should have put this in. Because it genuinely looks like that type of player. And we know he is active on social media in terms of, like, when it's going positive, oh my God, you couldn't stop him posting last year. So he sees the criticism. As you've rightly said, again, going back to my dad sat at the game, who is that at the back post? Sugbo. I mean, you can crucify him for that. He should be getting out quicker, but ultimately, again, it's a really good finish. Shot initially in is okay. Somebody should get in the way of it. It's not like a bullet and the lads had to jump up to waist height to back heel it in. It's sort of dribbled through. And it's a really smart finish. Like, it's a really clever finish. And 3-0, rub your hands of it, move on if you Leeds. And the same for ourselves. Like, 3-0, it wasn't a 3-0 game. Play like that more often than not. We'll take points off more sides than we do lose points or drop points.
Yeah, Jake's also said it's weird how it was almost popular to criticise Fletcher last season, but you mention anything about Ugbo and you're almost crucified for it. Yeah, I think what that is, that's because we know what he can actually do. Obviously, he had that purple patch, didn't he, last season when a few games into joining, when he was scoring pretty much every week. What was it, 7 goals in 6 games?
Yeah, 7 and 7.
Yeah, so because he's done that, we know what he can do. We've spent a bit of money on him. We had the whole summer thing and expended a lot of mental energy into how much we should spend on him and all this, that, and the other. So everyone's willing him to do well. Everyone's willing him to score goals, and we all want him to. Whereas Ashley Fletcher was just dog shit from the get go, weren't it? To be fair, so that's probably why that one. Yeah, Scipio Africanus, another Leeds fan here. Refreshing to see a team come to Elland Road and not sit deep. On another day, you might have got something today. Yeah, I said this on the preview show. Burnley parked the bus and beat them 1-0. And I just said, we don't park the bus.
Nah, not at all.
Danny Rill, he'd rather get spanked 5 or 6-0. It's almost like he is like a Russell Martin. He isn't, but in a weird way, in that he would rather stick to his principles and try and play good football and try and do what they've tried to be doing week in, week out, rather than radically change the way that you play just for a point. Yeah. Which I'm not. I don't know.
But the other argument is because we have seen games this year where we've had 30% possession and been totally dominant in the game, and that sounds fucking mental to say with 30% possession, but all of the chances have fallen to our players and they have been clinical. Today, I thought it was, again, as has just been mentioned in that comment there, actually refreshing to go and actually have a go at Leeds and not just kind of sit there and go, oh my God, you're so good. Please don't hurt us.
Because let's be right, that's what we were saying last week.
100%. 100%.
If you listen to us, like it were going to be 8-0 or something ridiculous.
All 11 of you get on that line. They can't put it above you. Just jump. Just let them shoot for an hour and see if they can score. I thought we were good. I thought the game plan was good. I mean, it's sad that it's ultimately, you've played them twice, you've got nothing from it. We didn't deserve anything in the first one. Absolutely didn't deserve anything in the first one. Today, I could have made an argument that we probably deserved the draw from it, but also, had Leeds gone on to win 1-0, I probably could have gone, there was one chance in the game, they've taken it. Fine. We'll move on. 3-0 feels a bit harsh.
Yeah, Alex says Ugbo's 100% scoring against Luton. It's written in the stars with me driving 652 miles in 2 days. Alex, I don't think you've told us that you're coming up from Cornwall before, but yeah, it is a mammoth effort rather than you than me. Kian says Paul had a stinker today, to be fair. When he has a chance to play on the floor across goal, you might even get luck off it bouncing off a Leeds player and going in. Oh, do you know what? When he got slipped through, I thought, this is it. Just square it. Like, it's going to be a goal. No idea what happened to him. He had a rush of blood to the head or something, but he just absolutely wellied it straight across.
So bad. Official Wednesday till I die party line beforehand. Love you, Paul. But fucking hell, he had 2 deliveries to put into the box today, and both of them, I mean, one of them's on the way to Manchester. It was that far. And the other one, the second one I thought was arguably even worse than him just lashing it behind the goal, because the first one was sort of just lashed up behind the goal.
Yeah.
The second one, that was the one where he had acres of space. Could have took a touch, could have drove into the box, could have slowed himself down, picked his head up, tries to hit it first time. The more annoying thing for me was Meslier in goal is actually about 4 yards off his line out of his goal. So even if he'd have mishit it that bad and shanked it going right, there is no way, if it is at waist height and it's the wrong side of the keeper, anything other than a goal is happening.
Yeah. Do you know what it reminds you of? You'll know this because you play golf, Matt, and anyone else that plays golf will know. It's when you're in a bunker and you just thin it.
Nothing worse.
that was the feeling of me watching it, where you just, it's just a delicate little chip out onto the green.
Yep.
Just get it into the box, and he's just woof.
Oh my God.
I don't know what he's trying to do. Is he trying to get some pace on it? And I have no idea.
He got some fucking pace on it, I'll tell you that much.
Well, I mean, I have no idea.
But you're right. I again, if I'm going for what I think he's trying to do, because I have no idea what was going on in his head in either of those moments, I would assume he's trying to drill it with his laces across the goal, rather than doing that, wrapping your instep round it and really fizz it in low. He's trying to just drill it, because if there is some movement towards the goal, If it's a defender and they stick the leg out, it comes off the shin and goes over the bar. At worst, the corner. At best, it ends up in the back of their own net. All it has to do to a striker is hit him. But of course, Ugbo would have been 3 centimetres away from exactly where he needed to be to score a goal. I mean, to
be fair, I'm surprised people didn't complain that Ugbo went 18 foot tall.
Oh my God, honestly.
To get his head. Oh, I'm gone. I've gone.
Yeah. To sum up,
let's move on.
What two shit deliveries. Let's talk about something positive like Shay Charles, shall we?
Yeah, go on then. Shay Charles. Oh, I'm a mess. I'm done. I'm finished. Right, Shay Charles then.
Yeah.
After that bombshell on Wednesday, which, do you know what? For anyone that was there in the room, it was such a surreal. Is surreal the right word? Like it's coming to the end of the funniest thing actually was I felt like it was getting to the end. They said, right, we'll break and we'll come back in another 10 minutes. I'm like, come back, like we're finished, aren't we? It's done. Like what we're coming back for? Anyway, and then he disappears off again for probably another fag. Or he said, he's got to take a phone call, and then everyone's just waiting, like, what's he doing? What's happening here? And then he wanders back in and just sits down and says, oh, I've got some bad news. Shay Charles being recalled, and everyone's just like, oh fuck.
Anyway, have a good evening. Drive safe.
He was just like, oh, I mean, the night was shit anyway, but just how to top it all off. You couldn't write the script right. It was just. Man. But best thing about it, Peter was sat behind me, and he said, "Oh, let's add some positivity. Is Shay Charles staying?" To which he said, like skirted around it and said, "Oh, we'll find out in the morning." So he couldn't even have that kind of positive news. So the fact that it was brought up, and I mean, the best thing about it was obviously Rob Staten tweeting saying, "Positive news, Shay Charles is staying," and then wait a minute, no, he's not, he's gone. First of all, just apparently we have got a chance of keeping him. Now, I've heard a few things. I've heard that it's a huge loan fee that we need to pay, which I've since asked a few other people and they've just laughed at it. So I don't know if it's true or not. So I'll not say it. But apparently there's a chance that we could keep him again. He is head and shoulders our best player. Do we? I mean, within reason, do we just give into the demands and just pay it? Because we're not going to find anyone else as good as Shay Charles in the January transfer window, are we?
It's tough. So this evening, Joe Cran has tweeted out whilst we've been on, James, he's led to believe that part of Southampton's reasoning behind recalling Shay Charles is down to some uncertainty with a loan player that they have from Chelsea. Chelsea are likely to recall him, which if Chelsea recall him, it means that Shay Charles needs to be recalled by Southampton. There's also, as we all know, there's been a lot of people watching Shay Charles in the Championship this season, aside from Southampton. There's been a lot of clubs, and his agent is doing a fantastic job of linking him with a few. In terms of the fee, the loan fee is mental that is being bandied about. For Sheffield Wednesday, let me be crystal clear here. The loan fee for Sheffield Wednesday at this point in time is mental. But we have totally backed ourselves into a corner as he is such an integral part of how good we have been in the first part of the season for where we anticipate the season being. He could not play another game now for Sheffield Wednesday. And if he finishes anything other than second in player of the season, you are talking out of your arse. He has been the best player. Notable mention for Josh Windass, but he has been the best player by a country mile this first half of the season. You can't replace him with just one player. It's not going to be permanent transfers of that ilk that you can bring in, because why wouldn't you just go out and shine the player who already fits into your system?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go out and get multiple players to do his job. And we have 11 days left.
Yeah.
Go figure. Like, you are totally backed into a corner with it, because the alternative is what? You replicate the system that you play with Shay Charles in, But with him as that, he is the sole pivot in our midfield because Bannon doesn't go back and forward. People like to think Bannon goes back and forward like he did, 8 years ago when we were playing in a blue with white pinstripe Sondico kit and he was playing with 45 on his back. Bannon doesn't go back to front anymore. Bannon is not the player who you still see him tear arsing about all of the time, but he is not the player who is there to link the back three to the rest of the players. Bannon drops there when the ball is going to the opposite side to which Shay Charles is on. So you have to find a new system for a new player because a new player isn't going to be able to do that as effectively as he is. Because as we saw in the second half today, definitely for large spells of the first portion of the second half, he dropped into a back five when we were out of possession. Yeah. And then when we were in possession, he waited for a centre-half to play at either side of him, then stepped into midfield. Then again, the minute we lose the ball, he steps back and he's the one who goes to release. You are not going to find a player with the level of footballing intelligence that this man has shown in the small time period that we have had him for a actual physical transfer fee that we are willing to pay. Not that we can't, not that we can't pay because the chairman's got loads of money as we had loads of time on Wednesday. That we are willing to pay for a footballer at this point in time. So what do you do?
Yeah, that's it, innit? Like what Fraser just said. Charles is the best player we have had since relegation from the Premier League. I mean, that's a bold claim because that's 24 years of football there, and there has been some really good players that we have had. But when you look at it, it's just how effortless it is. How much better we look with him in the side. I mean, the fact that he's played every single game just says something about it. And I just don't know what it's going to look like without Shay Charles. Shalabar's only played 45 minutes every game. He can't play more than 45 minutes at all, and he's now injured. I don't know how long that's going to be, but so now we're looking at it and. Who do we play there? I mean, you're going to have to probably chuck Ingleson in there. If not, you're looking at Liam Palmer. There's no one else to, unless you totally change the system. And then you're thinking, well, we've played, 23, 24, 25 games playing this same system that we've been playing now, trying to perfect it and hone it, to then suddenly just chuck it out because we've not got one player. Like, I mean, look, I hope we can keep him.
Yeah.
But it would just, we like you said, we are backed into a corner. I can't believe we've been in this situation. I know what I've just had a look at what Joe's been saying, and yeah, apparently it's because of Chelsea potentially recalling one of their players. So I guess if they don't recall him, then they could just loan him back to us or whatever. I mean, he is available for Wednesday, which I'm glad in a way, because if he does leave. And that is his last game, it will get a decent send off, and I think an opportunity for all the fans. I mean, it's glad you didn't get that tattoo anyway, Matt, of Shay Charles's name.
Yeah, it would have been really bad. It would have been really bad. Him and Jan Paveda, which who's now been black taped.
Yeah, you can have a little cry and what have you, and everything else. But
I think sorry, James, just going back to that point that Fraser raised about him being the best player that we've had since relegation from the Premier League. I think you're probably talking to add him to that list of players that we have had since dropping down from the Premier League. And I'm not talking about what they've been for Sheffield Wednesday. I'm talking about the type of player that, you can see has got quality. You're talking Ross Barkley. You're talking Mikel Antonio. We saw one season of Fernando Forestieri, Barry Bannon. Aside from that, who else, aside from this kid who has come in and had the level of impact in the time period that he has been here? Realistically, who else can you name? I know there will be people who can go back to probably the early 2000s. You'd probably argue Chris Brunt as well. Chris Brunt. Maybe, just because of the level of impact that he had at West Brom, and he was such an integral player for them over the course of it. But I can't think of any others that are of the level of quality, like for a modern day footballer. Like
what about Joey Pelipese?
Levels to this game, James. Him and Izzy Brown, levels, different cream.
Yeah, I can name you so many.
I can name you shite. Yeah, we could sit here for another hour and name shite. But that's what I mean. You're talking a handful of players, and I know this.
Hey, Ross Barkley will be another one, I guess.
Yeah.
But because when you look at it in that sort of ilk of young player coming from a Prem side, playing in the league below, playing the trade, and then potentially then going on to bigger and better things, obviously, which Ross Barkley did. And
I've just seen something.
No. So for those listening, Jake's just said, time to revive the Bernard in midfield experiment, anyone. And those that have got a short memory, and to be fair, you don't need to remember this one. That was Ipswich. Oh, no, Southampton, sorry, yes. Even I'd forgot about it. Yeah, Southampton away, 4-0 thrashing.
But in that game, he tried to get Deschamps Bernard to play what he has ultimately got Shay Charles doing. And he couldn't do it. Like, as you say, Ross Barkley, irrespective of whether you think he should have gone on to do better, and I know he's recently had a spell at Luton, Ross Barkley has spent the majority of his career playing top-level division football for big clubs. And by big clubs, I mean Everton, who are, they have been champions of England, and he's now playing at Aston Villa. Okay, he doesn't play week in, week out, but he's coming towards the end of his career. He's a squad player and plays pretty much every Champions League game for them in some way, shape, or form. That's the level of quality that you're talking when you come to this particular player. Because if, let's say for argument's sake, he does go, I know we'll move on from Shay Charles in a second, James. It's just I'm talking about him while I can. If he goes back to Southampton have two options really with him. One is obviously keep him, one is obviously sell him. I don't think they're going to loan him again. I think if he goes back to Southampton, he stays as their player, because what harm does it do him going and getting 4 or 5 months of Premier League experience with a new manager who is not Russell Martin, because he's been that good for us. Like, we know you can do it at that level. When we go down, you'll be fine there. But who's to say that somebody at the end of this window doesn't come in and test the waters with a 20 million quid bid, 15 to 20 million? I'm going to go on then, try it.
Apparently Arsenal have been sniffing around for him. So, how exactly he fits into an Arsenal side, I've no idea. But I never get it with like these, with the top clubs when they buy these players like this, because from a player's perspective as well, I mean, look, money talks, doesn't it? And Arsenal are going to be offering a lot more money than what Southampton are offering. But then sometimes you think you're better off just kind of staying where you are, getting more game time. But that's easy to say that when I'm just sat here talking about football rather than playing it.
No, of course, but he would be a ideal replacement for Thomas Partey, who there's been some discussion in the Arsenal team about. And I know that sounds ridiculous. We're talking about 10th in the Championship to go in and play in title challenges in the Premier League and Europe. But that,
what what you're talking about there is Arsenal having a plan.
Yeah.
Arsenal are planning an exit strategy for when Partey moves on, and they've got to get someone else in. So let's get someone in now who's young, who can be moulded into that role. That's what football clubs with a plan. That's revolutionary. I've never heard of that before.
And I bet their supporters don't need to know about it either. Anyway,
no, they probably had a fans forum.
Let's move on before I start crying. Sorry, on Shay Charles.
All right, let's move on, and let's do the 3-word match reviews, and then we'll talk about the protests that have happened today as well. At WTID Pod, if you want to get involved in all the socials and everything, which have been popping off. 2 million impressions on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yikes.
Nothing even happened on Wednesday and Thursday either. We've already done that joke already, haven't we? So, yeah, anyway. Carlos said, where was Smith? Ben still can't defend. Rob, sell your house. Paul Pashley said, still no meeting. Ben, score flattered him. Yep, agree with that one. South Owl said, time's up, Dejpon. Lewis, quality really matters. The exile, lack of quality. Dom says kept it competitive. David Talbot didn't deserve that. We've got Carlo again saying Chansiri back. Danny Shooter, same old shit. That's a bit harsh, to be fair. Jim just needs 2 words, and that's Chansiri out. Corey, better team won. We've got Leeds more clinical, didn't deserve that. Roll will leave, score flattered him. Scoreline flattered Leeds. Wallet out, Dejpon. Chansiri back roll, all on the same kind of same themes. Chansiri creates carnage. Clown out now. I'll read one more out. Phil says better with Ehekwa. Just on Chansiri, obviously he was there today for the game. I tweeted a picture that was sent to me of him getting out of his Range Rover. And it's done the rounds on
massive,
Twitter.
isn't it?
It has, because if you haven't seen the picture, I can only describe it as he's like next to a floodlight or something, isn't he? Like he's parked bang next to it. But how he's parked it, and it's like the same colour as his car, and it just looks like. I'll read some of them out. Someone's put. When I customise my, this is how far it's gone. When I customise my car on Rocket League, we've got like people talking about computer games, like the reach of this picture. I'm not going to do it any justice. You have to go and look at it. It is. And look at
my personal favourite one was look at the size of that aerial, and that's gone like 60,000 retweets and likes and all the rest of it. I was like, that is outstanding.
Yeah, it's gone mental. 675,000 people have seen the picture of, and all it is Chansiri and half of Paxao getting out of the car. That is it. But anyway, what's the juxtaposition? Is that the word that you're looking for there? But yeah, he was there. He was there at Elland Road today, and there were protests as well. So, 1867 group handing out the yellow leaflets again. Got a lot of exposure on both ITV and Sky Sports, both on the actual on the game itself, like the coverage. They were speaking about it beforehand. They were speaking about it after. They were speaking about it kind of every single opportunity. You know, they've got the local news guys reporting on it as well. Probably more exposure than what they did when they had the other. The other protest at Hillsborough, which is weird in a way, isn't it? You know, having a protest away from home. You'd like to think it would be better at Hillsborough, but yeah, what needs to be done next? Because once again, we're seeing this kind of infighting again. If you look on the socials, you've got. It's almost like black and white. There's just people that are very for it, and they want Chansiri to leave, and they want new ownership and everything else. And then you've got the other side who would just think it's just totally the wrong thing to do and calling people out for it. And it's getting quite personal at times. And all this infighting between, I want to say two sets of fans. It's not. It's one set of fans, but with two different viewpoints.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what people's viewpoints are on the protests, I think they'll continue. Because I think the past week has stirred a number of people's passions surrounding the football club and the ownership. And now people, I mean, ultimately, this is what happens in the mark of any dysfunctional organisation, isn't it? Is you get division amongst people, in our case of fans, and you want that division as a leader of that, because it obviously just allows you to continue going on, because if everybody's fighting everybody else, they're not looking at you. I suppose the way I look at it, James, is there's two options that the football club has moving forward. One is evolve, one is die. And by die, I don't mean go out of existence. I mean the chairman ultimately sells the club. So you either change or you decide to sell it. Change, to be completely clear, is just theoretical. I'm not wishing this to happen to anybody, and what we're talking about and what I'm going to outline in the next 2-3 minutes or so. I'm not hoping this happens to anybody, but this is, if it was me walking through the door tomorrow, this is what I would do. The first thing is sack those people behind the scenes in all significant departments of positions of responsibility. I'm not talking your salt of the earth tea ladies, canteen staff, ground staff, turnstile operators, stewards, kit staff, training ground staff, cleaners, Doris, whoever. I'm talking about the people in suits making the decision. Because if you are being the owner over the last, let's even just categorize it to last 2 years, these people have been here long enough to get it right for you, and they are simply not doing their job. End of discussion. So then what you have to do, because you've just shelled everybody off and given them their P45s, and you're looking at making Doris your director of football, is...
it could do a better job, actually.
Yeah.
You never know.
Come in, I do what? You focus then on employing people from successful clubs for silly money. because you will have to spend silly money to take them out of their well-built, well-financed structure to actually get them into what is currently a car crash off the field. And you get them to implement a similar off-field structure with regards to day-to-day running of the club as a business. It includes commercial, it includes match day experiences, fan engagement, finance, whatever you want to bracket. Thirdly, invest in recruitment and players analytics teams headed up by a director of football or whatever title you want to give them. Because I know on Wednesday when Chansiri was asked about a director of football, he was like, well, if I stumble over one in Aldi or on the flight back and I like them and they make a good impression on me, I might choose to hire one. And you're just thinking, in what walk of life does that happen? Like, you need turnstile operators at Hillsborough. You don't just go out and just shout into the ether and into the earth. We need some turnstile operators. Anyone? Anyway, you put adverts out. So anyway, that team's sole goal is to find value in the market with youth or younger players similar to those that you have got in terms of James Beadle and Shay Charles or Jeddy Gassama. And then you sprinkle that in with a few experienced pros around them to provide you with saleable assets and ammunition to make the club profitable on the pitch. You then invest in the club's facilities and bring it to a commercial partner, because who would care if you were going to, I don't know, host and stay sponsored by Hillsborough or a training ground brought to you by Roblox? Like, who would care? Because you would still know it as, that's Wednesday's training ground, that's Hillsborough.
Yeah, that's like, Middlewood Road, that's Hillsborough, that's it.
100%. Like, that is such an easy opportunity. You then give over, because the chairman doesn't live in this country, has no interest in living in this country. His family are on the other side of the world. His son's on the other side of the world to him. Why would you live here? You wouldn't. Like, you're not going to. He's made that perfectly clear. So you have to give over the day-to-day running of the football club to a board of 4 or 5 individuals who have a track record of progressive leadership in football, who are on hand to make decisions around the club quickly, build links with all corners that this club reaches. There was a question on Wednesday night, James. I forget who it was. I know the woman was called Keeley, but I can't remember what organisation she represents. Was it the Sheffield Wednesday Disabled Supporters Club?
Yeah, it's Soda. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually the response that was given surrounding that was talking not about how they're going to make the match day going experience easier or more accessible to those fans. It was actually surrounding, well, there's a lot of fraud within that group. There's a lot of fraud. We've got 1,000 people registered and they all need carers and they need this. It wasn't anything in relation to the question. It was to do with, well, the current area of need within that situation is fraud. And you're thinking, hang on.
So what we've done is we've put the prices up.
So what we've done is we've put the prices up. It's just beggars belief. And then the last one and the most important one is that cash flow issue, which has been an issue constantly. Now, the chairman has cash. We know he's got cash because he tells us he's got cash at every opportunity. It's like Jay
And it's not his dad's as well,
no,
by the way.
And that's like Jay Cartwright at Caravan Club going, oh, I pull loads of birds. Like, it's just saying you do it doesn't make it so. But let's assume he's got loads of money. You have to take on investors or another partner into this club so that you have, okay, the majority or casting vote, but that allows you also to build for an exit strategy that is not the figures that we have heard mentioned this week when you're talking about a sale of the club. Because I know Leeds were very, very annoyed about Red Bull coming in. And I rightly so. I know there's particular fans have loads of views on the way in which that Red Bull structure their clubs across Europe. But when Leeds owners want to sell, the 49ers group or whatever it is, when they want to sell, guess who the first person they're going to go to? They don't even have to advertise. The fans don't even have to find them a buyer or sell the house because they're sat down fucking next to them. It's the smart thing to do. And also, if you are struggling with cash flow issues, getting the money out of Asia into the UK, maybe these partners can help to pay, I don't know, tax bills.
Yeah, do you know what? You bang right with everything that you're saying there, and all them things that aren't already in place now. That's how much it's just been allowed just to dwindle and just kind of get by everything. Yeah. You know, we are like, we're so far behind other clubs. It's making it an even bigger task. Do you know what I mean? To actually trying to catch up to where we need to be. Do you know what I mean? The squad is so dilapidated. Dilapidated is probably the wrong word.
No, you're right.
It's it's not worth a lot. We are punching above his weight. We are, let's be right about it, we have spent more seasons bobbing around between League One and Championship than we have between the Premier League and the Championship in recent times. Obviously, we haven't been back there for 24, 25 years. So because we are, we are a bottom-end Championship club, like kind of by stature, but just from previous seasons. And, you know, it's not going to, we're not just suddenly going to have a squad that's worth 100 million. Like, something has to happen in order for us to do that. Yeah. And, you know, like, it doesn't just happen by chance, does it? Do you know what I mean?
What is that? Inflation.
Yeah, you just suddenly just find all these players. Like, it's not going to happen like that. You have to put the hard work in. And I find it baffling. I know obviously Danny Reels brought in all this staff and but, you know, the backroom staff, but they're all on the playing side of things. But I just find it baffling how there's just not anyone else.
Nope.
You know, there's literally Chansiri, and then there's Alistair, and that is it. There's literally nobody else making a decision. It's just them two, really. Like that. You've got Kevin Beadle, but he doesn't really work for us. He's more of a consultancy role, and he's just really just telling you to buy. Like, he's not making any day-to-day decisions for the football club. I was looking, actually. I was trying to do a bit of research into how many other clubs have got these people in these roles. Yep. Some people have got, you know, a board of directors, 4 or 5 different people, all from different walks of life, have got different businesses themselves, you know, of different varying degrees of wealth. Then you look at others, and they've got, you know, a head of finance, they've got a head of, head of recruitment, they've got a director of football, they've got all these different people in all these different positions, you know, all coming together, probably having meetings as well. That's a new thing, isn't it? Having meetings between people as well. Yeah, have regular meetings between each other, and, you know, identify things that need. You know, they might have got a plan and a vision. Joe, I didn't really want to talk much about the fans forum, but one thing that one question that I was going to ask, and it got asked fairly early on, really, was like, what's your 5 and 10 year goal? You've been here 10 years. Yeah. What's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see Sheffield Wednesday being? You know what I mean? Are we just going to be, you know, because there's a number of things that you could say in the Premier League, which, I suppose if he was pressed, would probably be his answer. Do you know what I mean? That would just be his throwaway answer, or in the Premier League. Or, you know, it could even go the other way and say, we're going to be a sustainable football club. I want to see us be a sustainable football club by 10 years. And you know, and then obviously you press him on what his plan is and how he's going to get there. But, you know, but to just say it depends on where we are in the league, like that is not a plan. Like, and he said, I'm not going to tell you because I don't know where we're going to be, and it might be irrelevant.
But the point of that is that smacks of, and to be crystal clear here, I've never met the chairman. I've never actually been in the same vicinity, other than I've walked past and seen him having a fag outside the South Stand once after a game. It strikes me as he is at his core a gambler. In terms of, by a gambler, I mean, he's somebody who's bought this as a gamble, like a lot of football owners did around that 2014 period. And what he keeps doing is just doubling down and doubling down and doubling down and doubling down on the way in which that he does business. And you can go into personal assassinations surrounding, well, he was brought up with this and he's never heard no and all that. I don't know that, so I'm not going to say for definite, oh, well, he's just a spoiled kid with this and all that, because it might be that. It might be something more deep-rooted that he feels he's got stuff to prove to somebody. I don't know. The problem is you can't say that to fans and then expect, like we have seen in the last 10 years, ticket revenue to continue to grow and increase by 31% over the next 10 years. Because if you come out to people like me, you, all the people who are listening to this who are Sheffield Wednesday fans, can't expect us to keep investing money into the football club with no semblance of a plan. If you look at Luton are a much smaller club in terms of stature and everything else, and they had some appalling ownership, 30-odd points deduction, which they never shut up about. their ownership group currently is a group of fans who, got investment and blah, 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 blah to save the club. They tell the fans exactly what they are going to do and how they're going to spend the money. And what that actually encourages fans to do is, even if they don't like it, they go, well, I know what I'm buying. I know what I'm investing into, because ultimately we all know the chairman sees us as customers, because that's what we are. Ultimately, we are a number on a sheet of paper. Yes, we're fans of the football club, but we are customers. I understand that people have been previously scared and scarred by previous owners of the 70s, and I wasn't alive in the 70s, let alone see how bad the football was. I can assume it was very similar to this. But that doesn't mean that when people of today are standing up and saying this isn't right and we need to be making more of a voice of this, that they should be criticised and vilified for doing so. If you don't agree with the protests that are going on, you don't have to get involved. Nobody is forcing you to do so. You don't have to force your views on on people, which from everything that I have seen from the protests that were going on, yes, his name was sung a lot today. His name was probably most roundly sung by opposition fans at 3-0 saying, Dejphon Chansiri, we want you to stay, which tells you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. And I can kind of see it from the other side of people that don't want these to happen, but I feel like it's more in fear of what might happen, and that's, in my opinion, that's not a reason to stay with the current regime. Like that's not healthy. That's almost saying like you're scared of the owner, you're scared of what he might do, and you shouldn't be like that. We should never get to a stage where we're scared of what the owner could potentially do to us. That means he's done something previously. Do you know what I mean? So he's clearly done something before, which is why people feel like that now. Yes, he's put a lot of money into a football club. Speak to any owner of any football club, and they will tell you they've also put an incredible amount of money relative to the size of the football club that they own. Speak to them all. Not many have actually walked away and gone, fucking hell, I made a rate load of money out of that football club. Do you know what I mean? It is a cash cow. Like that is what it is. That is what a football club is. So yes, he's put a lot of money in. If he didn't realise that when he got himself into Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, then he's a very naive man to think that. So yeah, there is that, and I thank him for it, and he's bankrolled the football club, but it always comes back to, had he have run the football club better to start off with, he wouldn't have to have put as much of his own money into the football club. He would be spending other people's money, these investors' money, the sponsors' money, all that. That is why you have all these things. You have to be smarter with all your decisions and stuff like that. And it might have, if you'd have paid a few more people in some more executive positions, perhaps he might not have had to spend as much of his money, because the commercial side of things will be thriving, as you've just mentioned and reeled off before. But he hasn't. So let's stop feeling sorry for him. He can come out and start crying that all he wants and says, oh, you can't tell me to do this, you can't tell me to do that. Well, do you know what? People are doing that. And that's what they're doing now. Peaceful. They're going about the way. If you don't agree with it, fine, don't get involved with it. But do you know what? I feel like more and more people are gonna start getting on board with these protests, and yeah, I don't really know what the next step is. I don't really know what's going to happen. A lot of people again are saying, "Don't matter, you don't really care." I think he probably does. He 100%. He put together the fans forum because people were upset with him. People were sending him emails. That's why he started the fans forum. So to say that he doesn't care and that it doesn't get to him, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Like he's really getting to him, and with the insulting emails, that does need to stop. That we should never, this is Dejphon Chansiri, chairman of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club or owner of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, not him as a person. It's just...
Yeah, it's not... Yeah, agreed, James. It's not Dejphon Chansiri, father and husband. It's what he is doing with the football club.
It could be anyone. It could be John Smith. Yeah. It could be anyone. Like the fact is, it's Dejphon Chansiri, but he is the owner of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. So all the anger is aimed at him. But yeah. Right, let's quickly we've got a couple of games coming up, haven't we? On the horizon. let's quickly just run over them before we finish off and do extra time, because we have got stuff that we haven't even got onto. The absurd valuation of the football club, which I never saw coming. We've also got Danny Rill's release clause as well that we'll touch on, and January window. They've got loads of stuff. So head over to patreon.com/WTRD pod and you'll be able to get the extra time episode straight after this one.
Sorry, James, to ask, is there a 7-day free trial at the minute?
There is a 7-day free trial. It's funny you should ask that, but yeah, there is a 7-day free trial if anyone wants to try that out, which I've seen a lot of people have done over the past week. Again, wonder why. There's not a lot's been happening in the past week.
Nothing else aside from, even if it's just not listening to me and you ramble, James, it's the Discord community, which for those of you who don't know what Discord is, it's obviously a chat service, but there is a great community of people in here who have been keeping lots of laughs going on over the past week. Phoenix Knights references and quotes are plenty if you are interested. I thought it was just going to be a few of us, but it seems it's everyone.
Yeah, who doesn't love Phoenix Knights? We'll have to, do you know what? Starting from next week, we're going to drop a few lines in. See if anyone can. I mean, we've let the cat out of the bag. We've just mentioned it on here. We could have kept it secret, but we haven't. But we'll see if anyone can find the little lines that we've just dropped in. We'll try and not make them too obvious. Wednesday night, Bristol City at home, and then we travel to QPR on Saturday, back in the capital. I know you'll be going down there, but Bristol City first. They're doing all right this season. They're up to just the level on points of us, so that must mean that we're doing all right this season as well. And I'm now looking at 12th. Where are they? Oh, yeah, they're a little bit higher up. In terms of their recent form, they've lost the last two in all competitions. Before that, they have been on a bit of a little bit of a run. Three wins out of 4. Like I said, they have just lost the last one against Coventry. Bristol City are one of them sides that are just a bit meh, aren't they? I never feel much about Bristol City. I don't feel like they've got any absolute standout players. I don't think that they're a club that's going to be up there near the top. They are just the perennial mid-table club in the Championship, and I feel like this season's probably the same. We've got to be going into that just thinking, playing like we did against Leeds, and we'll have no problem, in my opinion.
It was what a terrible game of football this was down at Ashton Gate earlier on in the season for a midweek fixture as well. I think we took 2,000 or something down there, and oh my God, what an appalling game of football that was. I think it finished 0-0 on the night. It was the Olaf Kabatsky got injured game.
Yes.
That was the most exciting thing that happened as well, to be crystal clear. I think that was the game where we didn't have a shot in the first. Oh, sorry, we did have a shot. Bannon had a shot and it hit Plymouth.
Yes, it did, yes.
Ultimately, this is a game you need to take 3 points at home, take 4 points off this side over the course of the season, and thank you very much. Ultimately, you need to do and take full advantage of this because, as you've mentioned, and we've mentioned a number of times, this is Shay Charles' last game. You need to be taking full advantage of this opportunity and doing what we do in a midweek, which is win 1-0, and it's a terrible game of football. But you've got to find a way to get a win. That's 2 back-to-back defeats and a draw at Millwall. I'm not saying that's a slide, obviously, because one of them's in the cup and one of them's against top of the league. You need to get a win. You need a win to put everything back on track and to shake off what has been a thoroughly shit week to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Yeah,
it is good that it is in midweek. The fact that the game is coming again, 2-3 days after the previous one, is a chance to get some of that positivity back. Look, we're 4 points off playoffs. If the games go as they've kind of gone this weekend, you never know. We could be 2-3 points off by the time we're done. One step closer. Then it's QPR. You are headed down to the capital. You love that away day, don't you?
Any London away day is brilliant, but I am a little bit more trepidation this year because QPR are on a tear at home. QPR are in really good form at home. I am heading down a bit more trepidation this weekend, but I'll be going down there on Saturday. It's just a really good day out, London. And again, for myself, I know for everybody else travelling from Sheffield, it's a fucking long way away. But for myself, it's not too far.
Yeah, you said that they're on a good run at home. I think it's 5 wins on the bounce: 3-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 2-1. So lots of goals for them as well. But to be fair, even away from home, they're not doing too bad either. No. Not as many wins, but you're looking. I think it's 2 defeats since back end of November, which
clicked.
Yeah, they're doing all right at the moment. So yeah, what did you say? 4 points from the next 2 games. I think if we can do that, then that's. Obviously the win against Bristol City. If we take a point away at QPR, and I'll go back to the QPR game last season. That's when the run started, wasn't it? When we the 2-0 win. So got good memories of playing at Loftus Road. We don't normally do that well, do we, at Loftus Road historically?
No, I think my memories of Loftus Road are predominantly. Do you remember the FA Cup game on the Friday night where Sam Winnell scored with an outstanding ball from Adam Reach? That was 2-1. I remember us, obviously the Ati Nui, where we all thought he was Zlatan for 30 seconds. And I remember a 1-0 win in the season where we finished 4th as well. Was it 1-0? I'm sure it was Daniel Padil who scored. I think it was 1-0. I think it was 1-0. I could be wrong. There might be a Jordan Rhodes goal in there, but that would be a collector's item. But yeah, I do like it as a good away day, but it is going to be a stern test on the weekend. And if you secure those 4 points, going right back to the top of the show, James, that's 9 points from safety.
Yeah, when I said we're not good at Loftus Road, I think in recent times we haven't been too bad. Like I said, 2-0 win. There was a 3-0 win in the Championship 2020. We beat them in the Cup.
Yeah.
Then they beat us 3-0 and 4-2. Then we're back to 2017, 2-1 win. And then after that, we don't win at Loftus Road for a long, long time. You've got to go back to 2000 until the next time that we actually beat them. So that's what I'm basing it on.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's what I was. That's
what you were getting at.
Yeah, exactly. Mark Green just said, "Sure, remember Ryan Jones scoring a goal at Loftus Road." Probably not sure on that one. Right, let's wrap things up there. I hope we've been able to add a little bit of laughs and a bit of humour to what has been a torrid week. Really. It's just I don't really know what to say, to be honest. I just didn't really see it happening, to be honest.
Sorry, James. Thing is, I know obviously we're trying to wrap this up. Thing is, you've got 11 days left of this window now. Everyone just needs to shut up and get on with it. Like, chairman needs to dip his hand in his pocket and start buying some players. Coaching staff and players need to continue to do what they did today and just focus on the games ahead. In 11 days, you'll see where the squad's at and you'll see realistically where our ambitions are.
I mean, there's a lot to be said about under-promising and over-delivering.
Yeah,
I didn't realise under-promising would be that we might not even have a manager. But here we are. So maybe that's it. If he's still here come end of January, we might be we might just be happy to have a manager. But here we are. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap things up. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Nearly 1,500 people watching as well, which is a great number. We're back next week, of course. The debate show will be Thursday again this week, considering we are playing at Bristol City on Wednesday. So do join us for that one as well. And get over to Patreon, get signed up, and get in that Discord and start putting Phoenix Knights memes in or something. But thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.